Hey everybody, welcome to the Sharpe Way. Yes, it is indeed Monday afternoon, Monday evening. Where is my time gone? Monday evening, 7 p.m. on the East Coast. I'm so happy that I'm here with you this evening. Thank you so much for spending a couple minutes with me this evening. I appreciate it. I want to bring up, I know it's an AMA, but I always start with something that's kind of on my mind. And the thing that bugged me tremendously. Last year with COVID, the response from the government was lock us down. I got it, saw it, stop this, stop that, whatever the case may be. And we found that so many people just accepted it. And I think part of the reason why people accepted it is we thought it was going to be short term. We believed it was going to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve. That's a year ago now. We thought that's what was going to happen. So we were like, okay, government probably cares about us. So we'll be okay with this and we'll take this, 2 weeks to flatten the curve thing. Well, that, of course, extended. And now it's a year later. And what I'm bothered about now, I was bothered before, but now I'm bothered more. In New York City now, they are literally raiding parties. Police are going in and shutting down dance parties. Yes, like this is the 1920s and it's a speakeasy. They're literally going in, kicking in doors and breaking in and saying, all right, you guys, it's a raid. We're raiding dance parties in New York City now. Where's the outrage? Where's the, no, we can't do that. No, going into someone's home now, for whatever reason, going into someone's business now, for whatever reason, going onto private property now, for whatever reason, all good. All good because, I guess, safety? All good because safety. No worries. Not just that now. Now, for us to have a wedding in New York State, you can have a wedding now. Look at that. Our king has allowed us to have a wedding. He is a generous God. He is. And he's allowing us to have a wedding. And he has rules, I'm not joking, on dancing. Yeah. How you can dance now is the rule in New York State. Where's the outrage? There isn't any. There isn't any. We're like, oh, good. Oh, we get to get married. Oh, my God, how lucky are we? I was always under the impression, as a youngster, clearly I've learned my lesson since then, but as a youngster, I thought the First Amendment had some value. I thought it was something important. The right to freedom of speech, freedom of association, right? All those things, to protest, whatever, all fine, all important. I didn't realize that those were just like suggestions. In New York State, the First and Second Amendment are just suggestions. They're not amendments or rights. No, that's not how it works in New York State. Those are suggestions. Those are privileges that when His Majesty is, feeling kind and generous, he will give us those privileges. I'm really bothered by the fact that now he can regulate whether people get married or not. I'm sorry, whether they get married and how they get married and how they dance. And you can raid a party. Now, I know some of you might get mad at me and go, Larry, these parties, there's probably kids, they're young, maybe they're like in their 20s and they're drinking, they're not going to social distance. Yes, because 20-somethings are not going to social distance. You can't stop them from not doing that. They're 20-somethings. They're not going to. Clearly, the cops can raid their homes and their clubs, and they're still doing it. Prohibition doesn't work. I mean, I remember being a 20-something. I was going to get close. That's what I was going to do. And if the cops are coming, guess I'm getting arrested because I was going to do that. And I think many of you, if you're in the age range, or some of you older are doing it, younger doing it, it's fine, whatever. Whatever's your thing. But you can't stop humans from being human. Let me say it again. You can't stop humans from being human. And Larry, it's dangerous. Not for them. The data's in, people. The data is in. If you're a healthy 20-something, Even if you get COVID, you're probably not getting sick. And if you're, and then if you get it, you might get sick for a little bit, and that's it. You're not going to have any long-lasting, issues. And if you do, even if you do, it's your life. And if you want to run around getting drunk and dancing on a Friday night, go ahead. It's your life. Why would we even try to stop them? But Larry, they'll go home and give it to their grandma in a nursing home. What 20-something who's partying at Friday night the next day goes off to the nursing home? Stop. And if you hate your grandma that much that you would go see her and give her COVID, you don't go see her because you hate her. This makes no sense at all. It is another way of us pushing on people, trying to make government make you inhuman until you don't think you have any rights at all. And we're on our way. We're on our way to exactly that. Let me grab a couple of these if I can. A bunch of comments. Thank you, guys. Spacehead. Thank you. Hello to you too. I appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. I appreciate that. Yes, it is time for Dose of Larry. And Joe is right. Head over to patreon.com/Sharpe Way. And if you can help me out, I would appreciate. Thank you for that commercial. I appreciate that. Whatever you can give is always helpful so that I can keep doing this. Absolutely. I do appreciate that tremendously. So let me keep going here. Tommy Brown says, Larry, what bothers me is the federal government is speaking about improving cybersecurity nationwide. Yeah, makes sense. Federal government, sure. Why should the people wait for the federal government to do something on cyber? Local level has to do something. I agree completely. Totally. Yes. Cybersecurity, I talk about it all the time. Tom, you talk about it more than I do. So yes, I do want the federal government to care about cybersecurity. I do. And it's important that we, spend our time not just on defense, but also on offense. And they almost never talk about this. I think also on offense. Locally, let's stay on defense, right? Let's stay on defense locally. Let's go on offense on a national level. I think that would be a better way of looking at it. If the federal government could have a hardcore offensive cyber attack ability, that will be a deterrent against others attacking us. If we could have locally more defense, another deterrent against us. The reality of it is, most people, and Tommy will tell you this, right? The people who are doing ransomware or whatever the case may be, they're not necessarily looking to, I'm going to go get Joe. They're looking for an easy target. They just want to make money. They're just doing cybercrime. And a cyber criminal doesn't go for the hardest target. A hacker might, but a cyber criminal doesn't. They're going for the easiest target, the way to make money. The harder our targets are, the less chance that we get attacked and someone else does, which I know sounds horrible. Do I want to push it to someone else? Well, no, but let's be realistic. I want my house to be the hardest target. So they pick someone else and hopefully they'll make their target harder to the point where nobody wants to do it and it makes no sense. That's the hope. So thank you for that. Paul says, I wish upstate New York would break away from New York City. Oregon wants to do it and become part of Idaho. I get that. The issue is you could do that in theory, right? I do get that concept. But even if upstate broke away, the problem, Paul, is it would be a purple state, but it wouldn't be a red state. People think it'll be a red state. Remember, Rochester, Buffalo, Utica, Albany, Ithaca, all these cities, they vote blue. So I know it wouldn't be New York City. I agree. But you'd still have a bunch of blue in that area. It wouldn't be all of a sudden a red state, it'd be a purple state. And the odds are, as we move to cities, it might still wind up being a blue state. It'll be less blue than New York City, clearly. I think that's true. But it'll still be a blue state. And if it's going to be a blue or purple state, you will find people upset because of a very important issue. Senators, right? If you break up New York State, if you were to do that, does upstate New York get one Democrat and one Republican? If it does that, that's plus one Democrat. Republicans don't like that. So you got to worry about that piece also. But look, the reality of it is, the more localized our government is, the less people care about that. And that's the issue. My answer is localized government. And then what do you care what New York City does? If your government's local, you care about your local people and you yell and scream about them instead. I think it's really a big piece. Rebecca says, did you hear about the news about an Albany County gun shop owner spent his own money and bought a full digital billboard a few blocks away from the Capitol building saying impeach? Now it says resign. Yes. paying $8,500 per month to keep it up. That is the hatred that we have for our governor in New York State. That some guy will say, you know what? $8,500 a month? Done. Yes. Just so I can have a billboard that says impeach and then resign. Just so I can, yes, I will drop $8,500 a month to do that. Think about that. That's how much people hate our governor. How much? Will you put your money where your mouth is? Yeah, I'll put $8,500 of my money and do that. Wow. Rebecca, it's amazing. I did see that, right? I didn't know it cost that much. I saw the sign. I saw it on social media. I saw the sign. I love that. I love that. It's great. Not in New York, but no one got married in New York last year. Could you go to a magistrate or something? Yeah, I think you could. You couldn't have a wedding, right? I mean, you can still get married, right? But the reality of it is, for most people who get married, the ceremony is a critical piece, right? We're humans. We like ceremony. It makes us feel good. It makes things feel real. We like ceremony, right? So we go to a graduation ceremony, right? Do I not have a degree if they mail it to me? I still have a degree if they mail it to me. But I like the ceremony. I like going through it. It feels good. Am I married if I don't have a ceremony? Yeah, if I get the license and I sign the paperwork, I can still do that. But isn't it nice to have a ceremony? It's nice. So I think people want that. And you know what? People want it. Why should government stop it? If you want a ceremony, go have one. If you don't. I get it. I'm not saying you need to have a ceremony. But it feels good. People like it. Why don't we let people be happy? Just be happy. And if a ceremony makes you happy, go have a ceremony. If you want to go dance and, get hammered and dance on a Friday night, go. It's what you want. Please don't drive and kill people. But if you want to go dance and, it's next day, no one's driving anyway. So they're going to go there and take an Uber after they get drunk and get hammered or whatever. Fine. Good for you, man. That's your thing. It drives me crazy. Maria says, just party whether it's legal or not, then fight if you have to do it. That's what's happening, Maria. What you're saying is exactly what's happening. Kids are doing it. I call them kids. I shouldn't say that. I feel bad. I apologize. Once I got into my 50s, in my head, people in their 20s, I always feel like they're kids. And I shouldn't say that. And I apologize for that. It's where my head is. And I speak from the heart so much. I try to not filter myself so that I can be honest and be forward with you guys. And sometimes I say things I probably shouldn't say. I should not call people in their 20s kids. I apologize for that. They're adults. It's in my head how I think. And I should probably stop that. But youngsters, how about that? Is that better? Youngsters, that's better. Let me change my speech pattern to be more respectful of people in their 20s. I apologize. All right, so youngsters, I'll say that because they are young. That's true. If youngsters right now are partying, they are partying right now, and they're getting caught. And of course, because it's New York City, people are calling in because we are snitch city. That's what we do. We're a city full of snitches, and so we snitch on each other. And 911, there's people having a party. What? We can't have a party. SWAT team, go. That's what's happening in my city now. And I know some people, as you always say, Larry, why do I care about New York City? Because it's coming to you. Yeah, it's coming to you. And it might not come this time. It might not. Maybe your city or your town has passed this now. That's fine. There'll be another virus. And they're going to copy what we did here in New York and go, wait a minute. Governor Cuomo, Mayor de Blasio, he was kicking in doors of parties and raiding the joint and giving people citations and making them pay $100 in fines. They don't pay fines, locking them up in jail, because that's the next step, right? It seems fine if it seems okay to fine them $100, $50, $200, whatever it is. It seems fine now. Oh, it's a fine. So what? What happens when he can't pay? Well, he shouldn't have been partying. First off, it's his money, not yours. So he can do whatever he wants with it. She can do whatever she wants with her money. But say she decides that her last $200 is best spent partying on a Friday night. It's her money. She can do what she wants with it. She didn't think the government was going to say she's to pay $200 in a fine. Well, now she can't pay. Going to jail. Now he can't pay. He's going to Rikers Island. He's going to the most violent jail in the country because he went to party on Friday night, didn't have $200. So I think they're already doing it. Absolutely. They're already doing it. And this shouldn't be a thing. And I keep saying it, and I feel like no one cares that I say it. It's very frustrating that no one seems to care. what I'm saying. Joe says, how do you think Biden has done so far in his first month as presidency? Well, he's bombing already, Joe. I kind of saw that coming. So he's already bombing. Check. Right on time. So bombing already, that's awesome. I knew he was going to be doing that. I'm teasing when I say awesome. It's terrible that he's bombing, but we knew that was happening. So already bombing. Was he like a month and a half in bombing, whatever that was? Already making the left angry. People voted him in. Good. Already making the right angry. So making everybody angry, going back on promises, and bombing. It's like check. All we expected, Joe. So we talked about prior to the election. After he won, what he was going to do. The second that he won, the thing that bothered me immediately, if you remember what I talked about the idea of me being unhappy because I knew we were going back to bombing. Guaranteed. Going back to bombing. So whatever you want to say about Trump, and a lot of people do not like Trump. I know the people don't like Trump. I get it. No new bombing. We'll give him that. He was bombing too. No new bombing. Bush started all the new bombing. Then Obama said, hold my beer. Let me show you. You thought you knew about bombing? Obama, I'm going to show you. Let me show you what bombing's about. Then Trump just kind of went bombing. I don't care. Whatever. Are we bombing them? Just whatever. Trump was like, I don't care. Whatever. Just leave it alone. We'll post people home. And Biden's like, get the bomb again, like in the good old days with Obama. And he's doing it. It's terrible. So, all right. You can't stop humans from being human. Yes, that's true. From Footloose, dancing is not a crime. Sadly, Rebecca, now it is. Now it is. In New York, it's literally a crime. Yes, it is. Time to go dancing in the streets. Thank you, Kim Cuomo. Yes, absolutely. Joe says, I do food delivery. I deliver to nursing homes and hospitals. They don't let me in the front door. Well, there we go. See? Look, I haven't done it much recently because now there's infrastructure to make it happen in New York City. But when this first started happening, I think I told some of you, on the weekends, I used to drive. I have a car, and a lot of people in New York City don't have a car. So I would drive to I have two family members who are in their 80s and both have pre-existing conditions. And they are obviously afraid of COVID, and they should be. And I love them. So I haven't seen them in person in a year. In a year I haven't. But what do I do? What I used to do, not now. Again, now they have systems. I would drive and drop stuff off for them, right? I'd drop off, cleaner, food, little things like that. And I would literally go there. I'd glove up, mask up, go to their door, drop it off in front of the door, boxes, bags, and on top of it, can of Lysol. Boop, there we go. And take off, or spray it in Lysol and take off. Why? I don't want to go in the house and give them COVID. One of them's 85 years old and on 84 now? 84, I think. And on chemo. I'm not going in the house. They get COVID, they're done for. So I care about them, so I don't go in. And that's my point. If I was a 20-something dancing on Friday nights with people and doing my cheek-to-cheek or whatever they do nowadays, my wife doesn't let me date, so I don't know how that works. But anyway, so whatever they're doing, I'm not going to go to my grandpa or whatever. I'm doing what you're doing. I'm not going in. I'm masking up, I'm gloving up, and I'm not going in. Because I care about the people in my family. And I think most people do. Doesn't make any sense. So, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin? I own Bitcoin. I do. I bought it a while ago. Not as low as I wish I had bought it. I wish I bought it a whole lot cheaper. The funny part is when it comes to Bitcoin, people were trying to get me into Bitcoin years ago. And I was like, what is this whatever stuff? And I just wasn't into it. I was typical, you crazy young whippersnappers and your silly new things. That's what ignorantly, that's what I was doing. And I had opportunities to buy Bitcoin at a couple $100. That's when I was looking at getting a couple $100. I didn't buy it. I waited till it was a whole lot more than a couple $100, but I still purchased a bunch of it. And so I still have some, and I'm going to hold on to it until eventually, I think my gut tells me Bitcoin will eventually become a currency. I'm not sure about that, but I'm telling you my gut. And the reason is, for something to become a currency, people have to trust that it has value. Whether it has value or not is actually irrelevant, as we know with the dollar. But people have to believe it has value. I think once Bitcoin eventually, whatever the number is, it becomes stable. Is that 6 months? Is that 6 years? I don't know enough about the field to know when Bitcoin will become stable. But whenever it becomes stable, I think at that point it has a very high chance of becoming a currency, because people know it. They've heard the word. The average person will feel okay with it, and eventually you'll be able to buy a pizza with Bitcoin, whatever it is. But because the Bitcoin itself will be so expensive, they'll change the name of it, right? So like if one Bitcoin is worth whatever it say, for the sake of argument, it stops at 50,000. I'm making the number up, and that's where it begins to hover. Well, you're not going to buy one Bitcoin worth of something. So they'll make maybe 1,000th or 10,000ths of a Bitcoin, and they'll call it something else. And then that will be what we trade in. Whatever that 10,000th of a Bitcoin is, we'll trade in that. They'll give it a different name, and we'll basically do it that way. I think that's what you'll see will begin to happen, right? Like we don't really, it used to be we did a lot of talk in cents many years ago. Now we talk in dollars. So we'll talk in whatever the 10,000ths of a Bitcoin is. We'll talk on that. That's what I think will happen with Bitcoin. I think eventually it will become a currency. It will take time before that happens. I don't know how long, only because people have to trust it. I hope I answered your question. So why is ransomware coming after me? What did I do to them? It's a good question. And for those who don't know what ransomware is basically where they lock up your either information or your machine or your database, or somehow they lock it, and they'll give you the password to open up to get your information back, assuming that you give them money. Now, for many of them, the money they want is usually in some form of cryptocurrency. Not always, but usually it is. And they do it to many different people, whoever they think they can get. And they kind of it's almost like a fire and forget. They'll do 4 or 5, hospitals, 4 or 5 law firms, whatever it is, and hope one hits and, oh, money came in? Oh, who's that from? Send them the password. And you get the password and you open up your stuff again. And the reason why it works is, think about it. If you're a local doctor's office, you have everybody's medical, information. You're going to not have the information. They say, give me $100,000 in Bitcoin and, do it this way, go to this place, do this. If you do, we'll give you the password. You have your information back. If you don't, oh, well. And they walk away. They will literally never give you your stuff ever. This is what Tommy Brown talks about this all the time. This is what he means, right? This is the local stuff. You may not care until it's your son, daughter, mother, father, sister, brother, husband, wife, who all of a sudden you can't get access to their medical records. Now what? It's a big deal. So this is the kinds of things. There's others. I bring up medical because everyone can accept that, but there's other types of data people might care about also. That's why ransomware can be successful. Once you fire and forget it, any money that comes in is a bonus. Another set, fire and forget. Another set, fire and forget. Until enough comes in, you make some cash. So that's why it's a crime. That's why they're coming after you, Joe, because you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's the reason. Yes. In the progressive utopia, do we have rights, or is everything a privilege that is revoked when politically convenient? It's a good question. I think it would depend upon the progressive you're talking to. There are a lot of progressives who actually believe in very localized direct democracy, and the closest thing they can think that they can call it is socialism. That type of progressive, yeah, you'd have rights. You would. You'd still have some rights. You would. But they'd be much more at the whim of local voting. But I think that's the minority of progressives. But there are some who feel that way. I think more progressives feel more like you still have rights, but no, that's not true. I think many of the progressives don't actually think they think you have privileges because it's based upon the will of, or for the good of the many. So I think it's a tough spot. I think you'd be better off talking to a progressive on that one, Sam. I think you've stumped me on this one. I know progressives who do believe in rights. I know progressives who say they do, but kind of don't. Then the rights are dependent upon the needs of the many. So they would get revoked, so it really wouldn't make them rights. I think it depends on the progressive. And all the rights that you're thinking about, Sam, some of those would be privileges and some of those would be actual rights. It would depend on the progressive. I'm looking at someone like Howie Hawkins as an example, who is an open socialist. He believes openly in the Second Amendment. Like, no, that's a right. You get to have a gun. But he's still a socialist. So there's like, that one's a right. But the rest, but that one's a right. So I think you do have some progressives, depending on where they are. Some progressives are 100% on freedom of speech. I mean, they're not cancel culture. Not everyone. I know that's the big thing now, that the left is all about cancel culture, but that's not every progressive. There are many progressives who are all about freedom of speech, like no matter what freedom of speech, they would never cancel anybody. So I do think it's a mixed bag. There we go. Why are you messing with me, Sam? You messing with me tonight. Anyway, it's fine. Let's see if I can keep doing this. And still, Florida is trolling the rest of the country by pushing information and personal risk assessment. I know, Florida. Made me angry. Yes. Let's see here. If I can grab a couple more. Yes, national debt, Pete, thank you, 27. Soon to be much higher, by the way. Soon to be much higher. Yes. Joe says, invest in that gun shop. Yes, I agree. Yes, invest in that gun shop. 100%. Business must be good. Remember, what was the number one gun salesman of the 21st century in America was Barack Obama. Number one gun salesman. Absolutely. Champion gun salesman. Everyone thought Obama's coming to take your guns. And boy, was business good. So I think the same with Biden. I think people want that. But something else happened too. There was a difference. Not only did the average gun owner or gun enthusiast purchase guns, as they're a gun owner, gun enthusiast, of course they would. But there were a whole lot of new gun owners last year. I mean, I think over 1 million. 6 million? I've actually forgotten the number. I think it was 6 million. I think that's right. There were new gun owners last year. I think 6 million new gun owners last year across the country. And that has not been common. If you go prior to COVID, the actual number of gun owners has been going down steadily. The number of guns has still been going up. So individual gun owners were purchasing more guns. That was a common trend prior to COVID. Now with the COVID lockdown, you're finding people afraid and concerned about their own safety and wanting to be more independent and more prepper-ish, if that makes any sense. So you're finding a lot more people purchasing guns. In fact, you're finding people who are self-proclaimed progressives purchasing firearms. A huge chunk increase, women of color. Huge increase in gun ownership last year. Big increase. So I think it's a big issue that we're finding more and more. And my hope is that the face of gun ownership, that the face of the Second Amendment will begin to turn. Right now, the face in everyone's mind, in the average American's mind is it's Wayne LaPierre. It's the older white guy. That's the image of the Second Amendment. I want it to be much more, Maj Touré, right? I want it to be much more like that. If that becomes the face of 2A, now we're moving. So yes, I think business is good, Joe. I think it absolutely is. Pete says, 350 days to flatten the curve. That's it. Just 350 days to flatten the curve. Absolutely. Yes. If I had $8,500 a month to spend on a billboard in New York, I would have it say Sharpe for governor. Oh, Paula, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That'd be amazing. Well, if I run, then hopefully people will get $8,500 a month and do that. So Paul says, why have we been told about when we could possibly end the mask mandates and other silly restrictions? Is there a specific percentage of people vaccinated we have to hit, specific percentage of positive cases, or are we going to be doing this forever? Quickest from our government's issue. Paul, you are 100% correct. And the issue is most of these things, they don't have enough data to support what they've done. And hear me out on this. They acted aggressively, quickly, and without enough information to even make it logical. So they start acting and coming up with rules and hammering people and shutting everything down immediately instead of going, why don't we tiptoe through this and figure out what actually works? They didn't do that. That was my plan. I talked about that from last March. I discussed that. I said if I was governor in January, that would have been my beginning. But if I was governor, we'd have started this in January. By the time April would have come, we would have known exactly what works, how it works. People wouldn't be fighting over it. They would know locally what's working in their areas and what isn't working. People wouldn't be going, masks don't work. They would know if masks work in their area or not because they would see the results. We would have tested as we moved forward with different ideas and concepts. And then we wouldn't have to have crazy lockdown because we'd know how to function in a contaminated environment depending upon what area of our state you're in. That obviously didn't happen. So now, how do you go back on that? It's a serious question, Paul. There was a special John Oliver talked about last night, about police raids. Where am I going with this? Well, when the cops come in and kick your door in, and it's the wrong door, which happens, when the cops come in and kick the wrong door in, what do? They still handcuff you and put you down and search the house anyway. Why? You're already in. You can't go back. They don't say sorry. They just say, whoops. They yell, you make sure you're the right person, uncuff you, and walk out the door. They don't pay for it, nothing. Why would they? They can't admit they did something wrong like that. How often that happens? Once you go to violence, it's really hard to come back. And when you have massive lockdowns, how do you come back from that? How do you go, yeah, I know we shut everything down and we crushed your businesses. We shouldn't have. Whoops. You don't do that. You double down. Yes, it's still important. We still have schools locked down. There is literally no need to have schools locked down. None. Whatever you might think about masks or social distancing or the power of COVID, whatever your logic is on this, from it's the harshest thing in the world to it's nothing, whatever you think, the data is in. Schools are not super spreaders at all. Never have been, aren't. In fact, the youngsters, the real youngsters, under 5, the kids, I can say kids now, they're actual kids. The actual kids from 8th grade and under, they almost never get it. And even if they get it, they almost never spread it. And if they get it and spread it, they don't have any symptoms. It's nothing. It's so rare. It is insanely rare that kids under, I think it's 13, is it? I forgot the number. Get it, ever. So teachers are safe. Kids are safe. Family's safe. School shut down. School shut down. Why, Paul? Because how do I tell you, oh yeah, I ruined your kid's year. I trashed your kid's year. Your kid's having social anxiety, suicidal ideation. They can't take the test now. They're going to struggle for college. If you're an athlete, I destroyed his chances at getting to whatever athlete, level he wants to get to in international competition. Trash that too. Oh, I was wrong. I can't. So I double down and I triple down. And that's what I do. But if you have an actual government that says, no, I'm human and I can make a mistake and you can make a mistake too. So let's not rush ahead. Let's instead do this smartly. And if we screw up, we can change, we can shift, we can pivot. And if we screwed up in one county, the other counties can help because they did it right. And the one county screwed up. Well, then they can learn and fix it. There's resources to assist our neighbor. That's how it's supposed to work. So you're right. Yes. Joe says they're going to party regardless. Yes, absolutely. Paul, I'm 37, Larry, and I'm still a youngster. Yeah, to me, you're still a youngster, Paul. Yeah, it's fine. I love you guys. I'm sorry. If I say, I hope I'm not offending anybody. That's not my intent. Sometimes trying to speak from the heart, sometimes things come out the way they shouldn't come out. So if I didn't offend anybody who's actually a 20-something youngster, I apologize. It wasn't my intent. If anyone actually is offended, it was not my intent. Yes. We should respect 20-somethings. Yes. Correct. They're paying into Social Security for older folks. They won't be getting much when they're older. Wow. Joe, you made me feel even worse. Now you made me feel even worse. Wow. Okay. You made me feel even worse. Good. You're right, though. You are totally right. Absolutely. All right. What's great about us libertarians, I really don't give a care what everyone else is doing. It's fun as you shouldn't. Yes. What's your opinion about distributism? People do this to me all the time. They ask questions like that. What's your opinion on something? No context. I guess I'm supposed to know what context that's in. I don't, James. I'm happy to answer the question, but can you give me some more? A little bit more if you don't mind. So, all right. Are you going to run for governor again in 2022? I will decide in the summer. There's a lot of stuff going on. And some of you may be wondering why I'm even, talking this way. There's a lot going on in New York State. There's a lot going on in the Democratic Party, a lot going on in the Republican Party, a lot going on with Cuomo. I don't know what the landscape is going to be like in the summer. I don't want to run just to run. It's not who I am. If I wanted that, I would have run for president or vice president last year or whenever. I would have done that. It's not who I am. I'm trying to make impact. And if I run, I am going to bug you guys for time, for energy, for money. I am going to haunt you guys for it because I'm going to want Paula to find $8,500 so she can get me a billboard. I'm going to want all those things. I'm going to be bugging you constantly for all those things. And if I'm going to demand that of you and ask it of you and screaming, oh, you got to do this. If I'm going to be doing that, then I got to be able to do some impact. I got to be able to create impact so it's worth it. I got to be able for you at the end of it to go, man, I'm glad I supported that guy. I'm glad I wrote him that check for $100 or whatever you write a check for. I'm glad I donated $5 a month for a year and a half or whatever you do. I want you to be happy that you did and be satisfied. Yes, that guy busted his rump for me. I'm good. That's what I want. And if I can't do that and make impact, I'm not going to run. I'm only going to run if I think I can make real impact. And that means really change how New York State sees the liberty movement. If I think I'm just going to get my butt kicked, why would I run? To be forward with you guys, why? Why would I take a year and a half out of my life? Why would I bug you and say, give me $100, give me, Paula, get out there. Get your cup and sell some pencils, give me $8,500. Why would I do that, right? Unless I can make some real impact. And I don't know what it's going to look like or how I should even run. But I will know by the summer. That it will be clear by the summer what's happening. And that's why I'm going to wait till then to decide if I'm going to run or not. And if I run, here's what I guarantee you. If I run, it will be an amazing campaign. I will take off and I will not work for a year and a half again. I'll take no salary again. I will sacrifice another, whatever it is, 15, 18 months, whatever that number is. I forgot the number is. Whatever that number is, I will not work for a year and a half. And I will campaign every day, every week I did last time, and we'll make real impact. That's what I promise you. If I do it, it'll be serious. And as I did last time, some of you don't know this, when I ran last time, the first person who donated to me was me. I wrote myself a check for $10,000, and that's how I started my campaign. I can't ask you for money if I'm not going to put my own money in, right? And you hear me say this all the time. I can't point my finger at you until I point it at myself first. So I'm going to have to write myself a check again to start again, because then I'll start bugging you all for money. I'll give myself time. I'll get out there and bust my rump. Now, I can ask you for time. If I'm going to go out there and do events, I'm going to ask you to go do sign waves for me and all that stuff. So it is a massive undertaking, right? Many people don't realize to run a real campaign, it is a massive undertaking. And it's a lot of responsibility. And here's the weirdest part. The weirdest part. When you run a campaign, all the money is donated money. So I care about how I spend that money because it's not my money. If I want to throw my money away, it's my money. I'll put it wherever I want, my money. But when I'm taking everybody else's money, there's expectations that I do something worthy. So I have to worry about how I spend that money. And I don't want to spend it on something that, 4 years from now you go, why did I do that? I hope everyone who donated to my campaign in 2018 is satisfied that I busted my rump. I did the best I possibly could. And I got impact, and I traveled the state again afterwards to get more people elected, and I'm still doing this. So I hope people see value in the dollars that they gave. I hope they do. I'm not going to do it again just to do it again. I'm going to do it again because I want that same thing. That afterwards you all look back and go, yeah, totally worth it. So glad I supported that guy. That's why I don't just jump and say, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. And that's why I think by the summer, I will know whether it makes sense to do so. And if it's worth me bugging all you guys for your time and your money and your energy and your support and everything else I'm going to be asking you for. So thank you. Good. All right. Let me see if I can grab a couple of these. Left calls me a Republican. Right calls me a liberal. Meanwhile, I just want to smoke pot and carry my Glock to my gay friend's wedding. I like that. Oh, good. If that floats your boat, Joe, good on you, man. I love that. People wouldn't dare snitch where I live. House probably ended up burning in an accident or something. Yeah, but you know what's funny? In New York City, snitching is the norm. It really is. It's the norm. And I wish it wasn't. There's a special number, a snitch number. I'm not joking. New York City, if you live in New York City, you know what I'm talking about. There's a snitch number. It's a number just for snitches. To snitch on your neighbor. Yeah, we have that here. You would think that's not a thing, but there's so many of us snitching, there's a thing for it. Yes, it's terrible. Jericho, bombing literally and figuratively. Yes and yes. Absolutely. Yes. and yes. All right. Do you think Cuomo can get any creepier? I don't think so. He is really high on the creepometer. I mean, that I know of, the creepometer only goes to 10, and he's like at 9 point something now. So, I mean, maybe, but you got to try. Like, you really got to try harder. I think he's pretty high on the creepometer. I think he is. Obama, that is accurate. Yes, absolutely. Larry, how is your mental health doing with everything? Hope you are doing well. I'll tell you a true story, Logan. I don't have a problem at all expressing my mental health. I struggled for a short time about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago. And I struggled twice. About 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And I was struggling not because of me, but because my kids were struggling. And because my kids were struggling, my wife was struggling. And so all of us were struggling. It became very hard. We made some changes. I made some changes. And I also made some. I used my schedule. As you can imagine, my schedule is crazy. It is. And I've become, tied to my schedule. And I've scheduled in more family time. And I didn't have to do that before. It wasn't required. Now, I found out a couple months ago, it really is. I have to schedule in more time to just sit with my girls one-on-one and just, watch TV or draw or play. I have to spend more time doing that. It's good for them, good for me, good for all of us. Schedule more time with my wife. I just got to schedule more time. And you wouldn't think you'd have to. I'm home a lot, but I'm also doing a lot, and they're home a lot. And if you've been sitting in your home for many weeks or many months even, the people around you sometimes become almost invisible. It doesn't make any sense, I know, but it's true. They become almost invisible. It's like, I don't have to hang out with them. I'm in the house with them all the time, so I don't got to hang out with them. So I wind up being in the same house with them, but not hanging out with them, but not connecting with them. And I think we all struggled. And it took us time because it happened so slowly, right? It didn't happen overnight. That happened so slowly that we didn't realize it. And when I finally realized it, how my daughters were struggling, I was like, okay, I got it. Let's make some changes. So I did. So it became much better for us. But we struggled for a bit. Probably maybe it was right after Christmas, New Year's, maybe. And then a couple of weeks ago, I was struggling again. I was feeling a sense of dread and didn't know why. And it's rare that I feel dread. I'm a super optimistic person. Most of you see that. I'm very optimistic. So I tend to see the best, or I tend to see the positive as a general rule. Relative to most people, I'm more optimistic than most. But I had a sense of dread, and I couldn't figure out why. And my wife and I were talking. And I was struggling. I wasn't sleeping well. And I'd have a problem where those of you who know when you start to get in a bad place, you either can't sleep or collapse, right? And I was getting to that point where I couldn't sleep. I'd be up till 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, up at 8 and working. And then, up to 2 o'clock in the morning, up at 7 and then working. And then all of a sudden during the day, I can't function. I got to collapse, take a nap because I can't function all of a sudden because I'm collapsing. So I just ignore stuff. And then my clients, I have a day job where I make money, right? I don't make much money off this. So I have a day job where I have to make money. So I wound up collapsing and having to ignore clients because I just can't function anymore. And I found out what was happening is for some of you who know me well, and some of you out there do, I'm very empathetic. It's a good and a bad thing. I can put myself in someone else's shoes and I can feel someone else's pain a lot easier than most, which is a good thing and also a bad thing. What I was feeling was everyone else's dread around me. There were so many bad things happening around me, so many people who reached out to me with negativity that I was trying to help and solve and fix and repair. And there's so much of it. For those of you who know, what I do, sometimes people ask me for favors and I try to help them out when they're in trouble. It's the thing I try to do. I can't do it for everybody. I just can't. I don't have enough time and space. And my team kind of shifts out which one and sends a couple to me. And some people have my direct line. They directly reach out to me here or there and go, help this, do this, work on that. That happens sometimes. I was feeling everyone else's dread so much that it was tearing me up. But once I had that breakthrough, literally, I was in my kitchen, and my wife and I had a breakthrough. I literally wept. I had a breakthrough, like, oh, that is the issue that is dragging me down. That's what it was. And when I had that breakthrough, that it came out like that's what it is, I felt way better. Because once you once you find the problem or the issue or the thing that's bugging you, then you can do things to repair and fix it. And you can handle it, and you can manage it, right? Some things can't be fixed, but they can all be managed, right? That's for sure. Whatever issue you're having, I hope we can fix it. We try to fix it. If you can't fix it, it can be managed. So I was able to manage it. And I still manage it now. I manage it much better now that I knew what was going on. Why would I share this with you? I talk often about mental health and kids and suicide and teenagers and veterans. Again, if I'm going to sit here and point my finger at you, I have to point my finger at myself first. Do I have issues? Of course I do. Do I feel bad and get down, depressed? Of course I do. Of course I do. I see the same things you see. I see the same things you see. I have the same problems you have. We all have our issues and stuff. We're different problems, but we're all got problems. We all got our issues we're working through. All of us do. And we all sometimes feel we want to have a little pity party for ourselves. It's common. Humans do it. The question is, how long is your pity party when you need to get up and start going? That's the issue. Are you going to have a pity party for yourself? Yes, you are. Yes, I do it too. We're all going to have a little pity party. But once that pity party's done, you sit there and whine and cry about how woe is me and the world's not fair. Yep, and you're right. It isn't fair. It's true. Then we get up and do something. Right? That's the next step. Then we get up and do something. So, Logan, thank you for the question. I appreciate it. And if you had asked me this question 3 weeks ago, I would not have had the same answer. So good timing for you to ask that question. I appreciate it. So yes. All right, let's see. Any thoughts on Cpac? Yes, I was actually surprised on how popular Trump was. I was under the impression that there was a bit more of a civil war in the Republican Party. I knew it was going to be popular because the average Republican still likes Trump, right? The average Republican does. But the elites still don't, right? The elites haven't all of a sudden become, Trump supporters. And there's a part of me that feels bad. It's going to sound funny, but it feels bad for some of these establishment Republicans because I know what they thought. They were like, oh, Trump lost the election. Phew, got rid of that guy. That's what they were thinking. And now they're like, what happened? Wait, why is he still popular? He lost. I thought we got rid of him. Nope, he didn't. He's still here. And I was surprised how popular he was. Again, I knew he'd be popular. I did not think he was going to be that popular. I thought he'd just be like, a star or, a popular person. I mean, he rocked it. People loved him. They ate it all up. And I was surprised. That was a surprise for me for Cpac. I didn't think he'd be that popular. But there we go. He is still a huge part of the Republican Party. He also mentioned, which I said, you guys didn't believe me, but I told you he was not going to start a separate party. People were like, yeah, he's not the Patriot Party. I was like, he's not. I know what it's like to be third party. He's not doing that. And I told you all months ago, he's not doing another political party. He's not. My thought was, is he going to be active or is he going to pack up and, whatever, go to Bali and build hotels and say, I'm done with this. I'm out. I'm going to go build hotels in Malaysia. Was that going to happen? And that I was unsure. Would he do that or not? But he's here. But this is going to be funny. From what I saw, I'm actually thinking he may not run again. He has control and power and authority without having to run. I don't think he has to. I think it depends on how much of a kingmaker he is. If coming up here, Trump is really able to move the Republican Party as it looks like he's going to be able to do, why run? He could be the de facto, king of the party without having to run. Not a bad deal. So I think that part of Cpac. What I also realized is there were more people of color in Cpac again, and some people who weren't typical conservatives. There were a lot of typical black conservatives, but there were some who weren't, which also was interesting. So that was kind of cool. So there were some good things about it. I hope that was clear. So yes. All right. Abby says, Larry, as good as it is to see Cuomo fall apart, I don't trust people in New York to vote him out and replace him with a conservative or libertarian. Really, they replace him with AG, who is a socialist nutbag. Please convince me that New Yorkers will change course and not vote for more of this social insanity. I wish I could, but I'm unsure that you may be right. It does. What I'll say is, I think I mentioned just recently, I saw John Oliver's show last night. He talked about police raids, but he also did an intro about Cuomo that was scathingly negative, horribly negative. Just called him an ass. He was terrible to him. And with that in mind, now I'm starting to think he's really in trouble. When it's only Fox News and the New York Post calling him bad names, who cares? They always call him bad names. But what is John Oliver? When it's the left starting to call him names, now, we have issues. What I said, and I have a terrestrial radio show that I do out of Western New York, now Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at noon. I mentioned this today at noon. Don't count him out. He's in trouble, but he didn't get where he is because he's a dummy. He's not. He is a shrewd, aggressive politician. He will do what it takes to stay in power. So he's in trouble now, but to underestimate him would be a mistake. Cuomo is ruthless, and he is savvy, and he has people in his payroll, so he's not out of it. He's in trouble. That's true. But he's not out of it. He's not out of it at all. He could still win this thing. So it's still possible for him to literally get past this, take a hit like, lose his executive powers or something like that, right? So that's, they beat me up, I'm so bad, right? Or whatever. And then be primaried by Letitia James, who's the AG, beat her, and still win the election. It is possible. So will New Yorkers replace him with a conservative? No. New York is still at least 2.5 to 1 Democrat to Republican. So a conservative is not going to win New York State. Not going to happen. Republican, not going to win New York State. Not going to happen. It's going to be a libertarian or a better Democrat. Is that a thing? Maybe. That's about it, right? Green is irrelevant in this state. Sam's irrelevant in this state. Conservative Party's tiny in this state. So I don't think so. I think the answer is a libertarian takes it. Or if the Republicans have one other chance, and that would be if the Republicans basically pick somebody who really wasn't a Republican. If that makes any sense, right? They pick someone who's basically a non-socialist Democrat. That's how New York City works, by the way, right? If you're an all-out socialist communist, you're a Democrat in New York City. If you're, a kind of socialist, then you're a Republican in New York City. That's how it works. So if they pick one of those types of Republicans that are really not Republican, just don't like Democrats anymore, maybe. But the Republican Party in New York State is a conservative party. The odds of them picking someone like that are slim. They would have to really believe that person could win. I mean, they'd have to come up with, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars to get the Republicans in New York State to actually believe that. That would be a not impossible, but a serious task. So that's my view on that. All right. See if I can keep doing this. That's not distributionism. The name may seem misleading, but it's a form of economics and government's focus on small business and localism. Oh, you mean distribution of power? Is that what you mean, James? If you're talking about localism and small business, that's what I talk about all the time. All the time. That's the norm. I discuss that constantly. On today's show at 3, I did that, talking about localism and small business. So I was suing, and some of you might not realize we are now there's a lawsuit against Cuomo. Yes, another one. We're working with Donnie Zolden and a very savvy attorney, James. I'm going to say his name wrong. I'm going to say his name wrong. Meriginus. He's going to be mad at me for that. But yes, anyway, if you look, we're working on that. You can head over to, if you would, head over to legalizecomedy.nyc. Head over to legalizecomedy.nyc. You will see the details of the lawsuit, what we're doing. We're trying to open up comedy clubs in New York City. Why are they not open? So that's all I talk about all the time. Yes, 100%. So Trump not starting a new war is like starting a fourth quarter football game on your own goal line. You're just holding the ball and saying, at least the other team is not scoring. It's true. It's true. I'm just giving credit where credit is due, Joe. That's it. I'm just giving it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. You don't know that the COVID-19 virus hasn't been isolated yet. No proof is be given by the WHO or the CDC, and all samples examined were influenza A and B. I'm not sure where you're going with that comment. Was that for me, or was that in response to somebody else? I sometimes when the comments pop up, they're not in order, so I may have gotten that wrong. I apologize if that was wrong. Sharpe coin does exist, guys. There was a Sharpe coin from 2018. It does exist. You can head over to LarrySharpe.com and put in Sharpe coin. It is still there. Absolutely, yes. So, COVID. So COVID-19 could be well be one big fraud. I'm not sure where you're going with that. Are you saying that COVID-19 doesn't exist, or are you saying that it was overblown, or that COVID-19 was actually something else and they're calling it COVID-19? I'm not sure where you're going with that. I feel like if you go ahead, if you could look ahead in the future 2, 3, or 4 years, maybe even 5 years, we're going to look back at this, and a lot of people are going to call it a fraud. But not because COVID-19 doesn't exist, because the way we acted. I do think, and I don't know what number it is, but there are a number of people who died and are COVID deaths that aren't COVID deaths. Even Governor Cuomo talked about the idea of presumed COVID deaths. He's like, there's tons of them. We don't know which ones there are. So is that, out of the 500,000, it's about that now. Are 100,000 presumed? 50,000? 200,000? I don't know. But there will be a chunk that really weren't COVID. I think that's true. The fear that has come from COVID is not a valid fear. The fear is everybody's going to die, but it's not everybody's going to die. It's if you are in a certain category, yeah, you really might die. If you're not in that category, it's going to suck for a while, but it's basically the equivalent of having a flu if you're not in that category, or categories. I should be clearer. Categories. I think in that case, you could make that argument. But I feel like you're saying that COVID doesn't exist. I don't think that's true. I would be hard pressed to believe that if COVID didn't exist, if it wasn't a thing at all, that enough people could be bought off or lied to that would not just come out and go, no, it's really, the flu or whatever. Tough for me. Easy for me to believe that people would be sucked up by hyperbole and fear. That happens all the time. So that I could buy easily. Overblown. You put in incentives to lie. Yeah, I could see that. But not exist? Hard for me to believe that one. But we'll find out, won't we? So thank you. What do you think about Libertarian having the president and VP nomination process early, like even this year? I think that's too early. The reality of it is our process, while it isn't good, the biggest issue is we don't have good talent. We don't have people who are doing it the right way. And what I mean by that, again, I don't point my finger at you till I point it at me first. When I ran for governor of New York, I announced in July of 2017. I didn't get nominated until April of 2018. So I was already running for over 6 months, 9 months. I was running for 9 months by the time I went to my convention. Nobody else was. Shame on them. Run. Well, the party's got to support me. No, it doesn't. If you're going to be a leader and you're going to run a campaign, then get your ass out there and raise money and build a team. If you can't raise money and build a team, you can't win. So why you can't make an impact? What are you doing? Raise money, build a team. Do it before you get the nomination. Why not? I did. So when it comes to president and vice president, I've put in a video what I think is the answer. And here is my opinion on this. I do not want a law or a rule or a bylaw on this when it comes to the Libertarian Party. I think each individual delegate should still vote their conscience, whatever it is. But it is my opinion that every delegate should think the same way that I do, of course. And here is my view and my opinion. And I hope the delegates all listen to me in 2024. They probably won't. But this is what I think they should do. My opinion. If there's a person coming running for president, if they haven't built the team of at least 5 people who are in their executive team by the time of the convention, they are not eligible, in my opinion, to be nominated for president. You should not nominate them. That's a no-go. Nope, you don't get it. If they haven't raised at least 6 figures already. They've raised at least $100,000 already. At least $100,000. Haven't raised it already before the nomination. 6 figures, $100,000 or more. That they should not get nominated. They are ineligible in my view. You should not be nominated at all. You're not a serious player. If you can't run a national campaign, and this goes for president or vice president, and you can't do it full time because you are working or bills to pay, whatever, you are not eligible. You should not be our nominee. Done. If we simply follow that framework, Jimmy, just those 3 things, that's the minimum, that you're not even eligible, that you shouldn't be, you're not even in the game. I haven't heard you speak yet, nothing. If you can't do those 3 things, you should not be our nominee, period. That's how I feel, my opinion. If more people thought that way, fine. Well, Larry, you do that? Yes, that's what I did. And I was just running for governor. And I'd already raised 6 figures before I got to my convention. I already had a press reel. I came to my convention with an 11-minute press reel. The press I'd already gotten before I got there. I built a team that was far more than 5 people. My team was dozens of people by then. And I'd raised over $100,000. So yeah, I did all those things. And I was full-time. I was full-time from July. So you make those the rules. I don't care when we pick the nominees. It's fine. Do it in May of next year. Whatever. I don't care. Whatever. Totally fine. But you got to be able to have a real, this is a national, campaign. If you can't, if you're not prepared for that, don't run. You're not doing me a favor. Don't run. That's my view. So, all right. So, it's called a Satoshi. Oh, is that right? They already call it that? Look at that. It's already called something, a Satoshi. Thank you. I appreciate that. There we go. Already there. I love that. Yes. I love that already. Yes. Yeah, but Logan's, yes, the small unit of Bitcoin is called a Satoshi. There we go. So that's what I was saying. I knew that was going to happen. I don't know enough about it, but that's kind of how it has to work. There kind of is no way around it besides that. So yes, it kind of has to work. Yes, absolutely. So should libertarians try to get the term liberal back based on its actual definition? It's more libertarian than what modern liberals are. I don't think it's going to work. A lot of people who don't know what libertarians are assume liberal. Oh, libertarian, you guys are liberals. They immediately attack. The word liberal has a connotation to it. Now, if you want to, add or modify it like modern liberal, which is probably a bad idea, but I think people often go, I'm more of a classical liberal. I've heard that before. That at least gets people going, well, what's that? So if you want to modify the word liberal, I think you could, but just using the word, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work at all. So what is your opinion on the public school system? Wow. Super broad. It's terrible. It's a joke. It's embarrassingly bad. It should be scrapped, but it can't be because people would never have it. So it's got to be modified. We have a school system that is from the industrial age. I'll give you guys something you might find interesting. Do you know why classrooms in the traditional schools are set up the way they are? Most people would say, well, it's, so that the kids can learn well. No. It's for custodians, so they can clean it well. That's why I set them up originally, just for cleaning. That was the reason. Put the chairs up, move around, sweep it around, clean up, and move on. It was for cleanliness. It wasn't because it was good for learning. That wasn't the reason why they made the schools that way. They weren't designed for that. And we just kept copying. If you're in an industrial world where you expect most of your people to, leave the school system, at this point, when they first started it, they were leaving the school system at, 6th grade, 8th grade, and they'd go off and work in factories, right? Or if they went a little further, they might work in an office. And a little later, might work in an office. But they'll basically work in some large room with a bunch of either machines or desks or tables, whether you're a factory or office worker. And you'd work there for 8 or 9 hours a day with a half-hour lunch break or whatever, and 15-minute breaks in between with a boss telling what to do. You do the work, and you work there for 9 to 5 or whatever it is. And 30 years or 40 years later, you retire, get a gold watch, have a nice day. If that's your world, current school system's fine. It trains you to sit in a big office with desks and tables, do what you're told, sit there for X number of hours and go home. Great. Done deal. Perfect. The world isn't that way anymore. We are in a post-industrial age with an industrial age school system. It is a terrible idea. It's only hurtful. It makes kids unhappy. It doesn't connect with who they are. It doesn't do anything for them to grow and become better and faster, stronger. They're not ready for the job world. They're not ready for college. And the data is in. I'm not making this data up. All data shows it's true. They're not ready for college, not ready for the real world, not ready for business, not ready for anything. And the last high school for most of them is just marking time, literally just marking time. Most of the stuff they'll learn in high school they will never use. Most of it is useless by the time they get into the workforce. If you start learning something in 8th or 9th grade and you're going to go to college, you're not going to the workforce for 8 years. Whatever you learn is changed, different, new. Doesn't matter. And if it's like, well, no, Larry, math is math. Yeah, done by computers. Yeah. And how many people are going to become mathematicians? Almost none. So if you're going to become a mathematician, that's who you are. You're going to study anyway. You'll be fine. What about the average person? Why they learn these things? They're not. Why should the average person learn calculus? Seriously, it's a serious question. Why should you? You shouldn't. If you want to, please learn it. Enjoy it. Learn whatever makes you happy. I know tons of unnecessarily crazy things that mean nothing, but I enjoy them, so I learn them. So please learn whatever you like. But preparing our school system, prepare our kids to go out and do something, it's terrible at it. It's horrible. And now it's becoming just indoctrination. And you're finding people literally leaving the school systems and homeschooling this or tomorrow, going to specialized schools because they can't stand the indoctrination that's popping up in schools. We saw it in my kids. We still see it in my kids. Sometimes my kids come home. Luckily, my wife and I are very open with our daughters. And I mean, very open. When the schools teach our kids stuff, they come back completely confused. We talk them through things. And it's a problem. So not a big fan at all. To be forward, though, fan of teachers. Not a fan of administrators. Not a fan. Love teachers. Because I think that if you try to become a teacher, you're probably doing your best to teach, to make impact, do all those things. I love the idea. The problem is most teachers leave because of burnout, because they're tired of rules above them telling them how to teach. And we have a system where in New York State, you have to get a master's degree and all these insane, credentials so you can show up and be told everything you have to do by the administrator. Well, then why in the world are we having our teachers get all these credentials? If they're going to be told what to do every step of the way by the administrator, get people out of high school. You graduate high school, be a teacher now because you don't have any say in anything. We're going to tell you what to do every step of the way. Why get these credentials? If you're going to have someone go through all the credentialing that's required to become a teacher, and someone cares that much to go through all those credentials and probably be in debt because of it, why wouldn't you let them teach? If I'm going to trust my kids with anybody, I'd rather trust it with that person who literally spent probably tens of thousands of dollars getting degrees in 8 years or whatever he or she spent to do this. I'll trust them. If I don't trust anybody, I trust that person. So anyway, I hope I gave you, it was long, but I hope it makes sense. So, all right. Opinion on Mises Caucus. I know people are so up in arms. So these don't know, there is a caucus within the Libertarian Party called the Mises Caucus. And they have this strategy now that they're going to take over the party in the next couple of years. Or next year, I don't remember. It's coming up soon. I'm on the advisory board. When they have trouble, questions, they ask me, I'm happy to help out. I don't have a problem with the Mises Caucus at all. People get upset. Oh, they're going to take over and bring the alt-right in. I hear that all the time. And my response is, if you believe that's true, and for you listening who aren't in the Libertarian Party, this is just inside baseball. But if you're in the Libertarian Party and you're concerned that the Mises Caucus is going to bring in all the alt-righters and do all these things, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe this is the secret plan. They're going to do it. Okay. You can be mad at them if you want, or you could do what I think is the best answer. Counter recruit. If you think they're going to bring in all the alt-righters, you bring in all the people who are not alt-righters, all the pragmatics and all the, libertarian socialists, bring all of them in. Counter recruit. Let's get them all in. I'm in. That's my answer. So when they ask me for help, I help them. Why, Larry? Why wouldn't you help other caucuses? Because the other caucuses have decided they don't like me and they don't bother asking me for help. So they don't get it. But sometimes they ask. When other people ask me for help, and those of you who've asked me know, I will very often help. I don't care what caucus you're part of. I've helped people who are audacious. I've helped people who are radical. I've helped people who've literally insulted me publicly. And I've still helped them when they needed help. Who've insulted me sometimes to my face even. And I still help them if they ask for help. I still do it. Doesn't matter. Mrs. Caucus asked. I'll help. Right? If the others would ask, I would. But the other caucus is this is the funny part. And I get this is funny. It's very similar to the left-right problem that I have. The left will very often assume, because I'm libertarian, that I lean right. That's their assumption. So they go, oh, you lean right? So I won't talk to you. I'll ignore you. I'll dismiss you. I'll ignore you. So I can't get the left on my show, or I can't get on their shows. So I go to the right. And they go, yeah, we'll come on because we're going to own the libs and attack you. And I'm happy for the attack. I'm happy for the talk. I'm happy for the back and forth. So I'm happy to go on all the right shows. I go on them. Absolutely. And the left now gets mad. Why are you on these right shows? Well, you won't let me on your shows. You'll ignore me the entire time. And what, I'm going to sit here and be ignored? No. You can just invite me on your show. I'll come on. I invite the left on my show all the time. If my team is listening, boy, do they know I invite people from the left on my show all the time. I invite them. They rarely come on. Sometimes they do. And then sometimes, and some of you have seen this, someone comes on who is really not ready to be on. And I have to treat them with kid gloves. I can't, because I don't want to, it's like beating up a kid. I can't do that. So I just go, oh, okay. Because I don't want them to never come back again. I want more to come, so I can't beat them up. But they're not ready for a real back and forth. And sometimes I get people who I can get a back and forth. Last week, so great. I had some people from the left on. It was great. Real conversation, back and forth, progressives. Real back and forth conversations. I mean, it's awesome. People were savvy and smart and new. I'm like, okay. And then sometimes I have people on who I just got to go, oh, yes, good for you. And that's all I can say. Otherwise, I'm beating them up. So I think I find that often in even the Libertarian Party. Many of the left-wing libertarians don't want to come on my show or don't want to talk to me. It's common to have that happen. The Caucus for sure. They tend to not like me very much. But whatever. I'm still open. If you're in one of the caucuses and you want my help, I'm still here. I'm happy to assist in whatever way you want me to assist. I'm still here. So I hope I answered your question. The more people in the party, the better. I'm in. So, all right. Let's see here. Why haven't we seen hyperinflation? I think there are two reasons why we haven't. The one is we don't care at all about debt. We just don't care. You saw already, right? Pete's already shown us $27 trillion in debt and going higher. When you just keep writing checks, you just keep throwing money at it. And you wind up not having that much of it because you're constantly going, right? At one point, I think it has to happen. And I think at that point, that's when I think Bitcoin becomes a coin, or we make a US coin or something like that, an e-coin or something. But that's one of the reasons. The second reason is, as we're throwing so much money, we've lowered the interest rate so much. And when you lower the interest rate, then servicing the debt becomes cheaper. And many of us are simply servicing debt. And that becomes its own kind of monthly note, if that makes sense. And as the interest rate is so low, servicing the debt isn't killing you, right? But when the debt goes back up, when the interest rate goes back up, that's when you start getting hammered. And I think you'll probably see hyperinflation. My guess is not this crash, but next one, right? Whenever the next crash is, I think that is when we're going to find hyperinflation, because at one point, there's just no place for interest rates to go. I think that's when we're going to see it, when that happens. That's my opinion. So I'm going to grab this here. Strange, the American Solidarity Party is considered left. I know. I actually had their presidential candidate, Brian, is it O'Connor? Oof. I had him on. I forgot his name, actually. Even though we are really very mixed bag on issues. We agree with the left on some things, right? And others overall much more libertarian than authoritarian. Yeah, I would agree. I thought he was good. Brian, I feel so bad. I should remember his name. And I've forgotten his name. But I had him on. If you guys care, you can check out that I did that interview. I think it was in maybe September, October of last year. I actually had him on the show for an hour and a half. He was very open and very forward, and I thought he was a great guy. I liked him a lot. The ASP, American Solidarity Party. Yes. So, Paul, I was one of the new gun owners in 2020. Yes. Nothing crazy though, just a shotgun. Since almost impossible to own a handgun in New York. That's true. Yes, but you're like many. Many were able to, yes. Larry, to cover our debt and deficit, let's sell New York and California to China. They are hopeless socialist hellholes, and we can finally be rid of our debt. And California, can have their socialist wonderland with their virtual signaling currency. Well, they might buy Silicon Valley. That's about it. They don't want the rest. More territory, more problems. Territory is no longer valuable anymore. Territory is a pain. They don't want it. They want IP. And Silicon Valley's got that, so they probably would buy the IP. That's about it, though. Yes. So they need more color in the NRA. You know what? I've had a problem with the NRA for a long time. I'm a big fan of GOA, Gun Owners of America. Gun Owners of America are much better, do a better job, fight better. I'm a big fan of GOA. And GOA is not beholden to the Republican Party. It's beholden to whichever party is doing the right thing. They're issue-based, where the NRA is basically Republican Party. So, and with Republicans start going, banning, bump stocks, NRA goes, okay, because Republican. GOA goes, no, don't do that. So I'm a big fan of GOA myself. So if Cuomo is recalled, will you run the upcoming election? I don't think he'll be recalled or impeached. I don't think so. And to be forward, I don't know if I could. Depends on if the election is only a couple of months, could I make enough impact in a couple of months to actually have a chance at victory? I don't know. It depends how fast I can raise money, to be forward with you. Because sadly, it just takes money. I mean, for me to actually have any chance of victory, I've got to raise at least $3 million. At least. To have any chance of victory. If I can't raise $3 million, I have zero chance of victory. I've got to raise that kind of money. So I can buy polling, so I can buy ads, so I can do my $8,500 billboard. I got to do those things. So could I do it in a short period of time? I don't know. It would depend upon if the media was looking to me, right? If they were like, hey, Larry, you going to run again? If they cared, then that would give me a boost. I could probably do it. If they're like, we don't care about this guy, then it might be tough. I might want to just still wait until the regular election in 2022. It might be a better move, if that makes any sense. So we'll see. Larry, get Maj Toure back on the show. You guys are the Jordan and Pippen of the Liberty Movement. Thank you. Maj was at Cpac, though. So he's not around. He's at Cpac. He's doing the Cpac stuff. So he's down there. So we'll see. So Jericho, got my Kick the Crown t-shirt today. Thank you. That's awesome. Yes, Kick the Crown. Because remember, that was a week ago? 2 weeks ago? Yes, absolutely. So if you guys want to check out Mark, he was on the show. And it was last week. And he was, part of Kick the Crown. Go to kickthecrown.com, kickthecrown.com, get your cool shirt, kicking the crown, kicking out King Cuomo. Yes, indeed. So I do appreciate that. All right. I learned far more outside of high school than in it. Yeah, you're not alone. Yes, you're not alone. So let me grab some more of these if I can. Wow, a lot of guys, thank you so much for all of these amazing comments. I really appreciate it. So, yes. COVID-19 is very real. The government responds to its fraudulent. Bingo, Shelley. Yep. 100%. That's it right there. 100%. So, yes, absolutely. So, we're going to grab a couple more here. Good show earlier today. I appreciate that. Yes, there we go. A pro-choice Republican could win. Well, that's the point, Dave, right? You'd have to have a Republican who isn't really conservative. And that would be challenging for Republican Party in New York State to do. Could they do it? Yeah, it's possible. But the person would have to be very popular, right? And well-known, probably wealthy, all those different things. It will be difficult to do that in New York State. The New York State Republican Party is a conservative party. Most New York State Republicans are actually conservative. Most are, not all, but most are. So to get that person will be difficult to find, right? Not impossible, but very challenging. So that's what I mean by that. You could do it. It's just very challenging. So, all right. Larry, would you consider a presidential run in 2024 as Libertarian, but using the Republican Democratic Party like Ron Paul or Gary Johnson's gubernatorial run? Probably not, to be forward with you. The only way I'd want to run for president in 2024 is the same criteria. Do I think I could make impact? Would I be the most popular libertarian running? Would I have enough gravitas to make it work? And would I be able to take a year and a half off? Last year, I couldn't take the time off. I was still too broke from my last run that I could just take another year and a half off without a salary. I just couldn't do it. So I couldn't run last year. So if I couldn't do it, then I couldn't have a good run. Why would I bother running? 2024, I will hopefully have saved up enough to where I could do it again, right? I hope I could, to where I could actually do another run in 2024, maybe. But I'd want to do it a year and a half out. Like I'd want it, same thing. I'd want to do it a year and a half out. I'd want to announce in 2023, right? I'd want to announce in the summer of 2023, and then start running from there. And I'd want to run as Libertarians, so I could gain all the traction that there is there. But I'd only want to run if I thought I was the most popular person. If there's someone else popular running, I'd happily be a VP selection, right? If some right now that everyone's talking about Justin Amash being the front runner. If Justin Amash wants to run in 2024 and he wants me to be the VP, I'm in. I'd love to be support staff, but I don't want to run if I think other people could do a better job than me. I want impact. That's the biggest issue. In 2016, I didn't run for president because I really thought everyone else who was running had a bigger footprint, had more money, had a bigger media footprint than me. I wouldn't have been able to do well at all. So I was going to be the VP. In 2020, I couldn't take off a year and a half to run. I couldn't do it. So I didn't run at all. 2024, I think I'll be ready to run again. I think so. Depends on what happens with the gubernatorial race. In which case, but I'd have to be what I believe. I'd have to believe that I was the front runner. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't do it. I want impact more than I want my name on the ticket. Impact's more important to me. So, yes. So Missy says, I'm the worst at calling people in their 20s kid. I hated that when I was in my 20s. I'm trying to change. I know. I'm doing this. I'm bad, Missy. I'm doing the same thing. I got to change. It's fine. I got to change. Absolutely. I got to change. I appreciate it. I'm trying to change. I am. I'm trying to. Sam says, New York State's debt, $351 billion. Yep. With a 21% debt to GDP ratio. I think Larry Sharpe is the only person who plans to address our state spending issues. Yes. You are correct. I brought it up literally the last time I ran. Yes, 100%. Absolutely. Paul's going to hold the sign. Thank you. I will need it, Paul. I will absolutely need it. Absolutely. Yes. All right. But Larry, Pete Clark and I got 2 free beers for name dropping you at a restaurant. Yes. I asked the waiter when you would be back at the Madison Bistro in Oneonta. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Yes, I love that. You know, it's funny. One time I actually got a gift because I ran. Was a guy at a store, Verizon store, and I was buying a new phone, I think. And he actually gave me a pair of headphones for free. He's like, I voted for you, man. He gave me a pair of headphones for free. Look at that. See? The guy in trouble, probably, got in trouble or something. But yeah, that did happen. So I once in a while, I do get gifts here or there. It does happen. So I appreciate that. Yes. But whenever I'm out in local places, I try to spend cash whenever I can. So I appreciate that. It's awesome. Nice. So, all right. So if I can keep going here. Larry, I registered as a Libertarian in 2018 here in New York, in some part due to you. Thank you. Is party recognition the biggest hurdle to running here? It is part of it too, right? If we're not an official party, if they do screw us, actually, I don't think they will. But if they actually screw us and don't let us be a party anymore, that just adds another $40,000 to $50,000 that I need to raise to get signatures. We'll still do it, but it will just take like 40 grand that I would have put someplace else that will have to go to getting signatures. So it wouldn't stop me from doing it, but it would be a factor. Because if I don't feel I can raise a lot of money and then I'm stuck with that, maybe I wouldn't do it, right? But if I could raise a lot of money, yeah, I'd get past it. I absolutely would. I would totally do it. So I hope that answers your question. So, all right. Larry, I know Maj Toure has been a guest speaker at Cpac. If Maj can get on the stage and talk, you should also have the platform to get your messages out there. Yeah, but the issue is obvious. I'm not really a conservative. I respect conservatives and I'm conservative in certain ways, but I'm really libertarian. I really am. He is too. He's really a libertarian, actually, to be forward with you. He's been moving. He was more of a conservative. He's now shifting towards libertarianism. So I think he's making a shift, right? I'm trying to draw him in. I'm trying to pull him over. So yes, but he knows I'm obviously trying to pull him over. I've been trying to pull him over for years. I'm still trying to pull him over. So I think he's much more libertarian than he's ever been, but he's been a conservative for many years. That's where he's been. And he's much more now coming towards the libertarian side. So I guess I could be a speaker there. I'm speaking actually at our Freedom Fest in July. So I will be there, speaking there. So maybe I'll get to Cpac next time. We'll see if they'll have me. We'll see. So yes. Not a Trump fan, but he's still popular because we still have the establishment. Yes. And I wish more people would get that, Jericho. You are correct. I wish more people would get that. A lot of people like Trump just because he's not establishment. That's the reason. He's not establishment, my guy. A lot of people think that. I think you're totally correct. Yes. So thank you for that. All right, so I can keep going here. He's too lazy on a third party. I'm too lazy on a... We're all too lazy on a third party. Absolutely. Yes. Oh my God, it's crazy. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. All right, see if I can go. Shai says, I wasn't surprised at all. He has a huge following, and he was a president who didn't kill jobs and bomb Syria, which is making people who didn't vote for him begin to see him in a much better light. Yeah, I think, now that I look back at this, but I get what you're saying. I knew he'd be popular, but my thought was, well, he did lose the election, so there's going to be a bunch of fair weather fans who only like a winner. That's what I thought. I was wrong. Most people were like, no, we don't care. He won the election. We don't care. All good. And I think maybe, again, I probably should have thought of this. There are so many people who doubt the election results that I think that whole lost election thing doesn't land like it used to land. This was 4 years ago, 8 years ago. I think it lands harder. And I think Mitt Romney is an example of that, right? John Kerry is an example of that. Even George H.W. Bush was an example of that. George W. Bush was an example of that after he was done, finished. But I don't know. I'm sorry, not George H.W. Bush and John Kerry. Those guys who lost, they felt it. He didn't. So, looking back now, I think it's obvious. But then I think my head was still in that mode. I think I was wrong. So it is what it is. I understand it. So, all right, let's see if I can do this here. Let's see here. Trump and Cuomo are the same in that neither one will go away quietly. Their egos won't allow it. Cuomo consistently does one thing, get even. That's my point, Steve, is even though Cuomo's in trouble, he's not out because he's ruthless. He is ruthless. And now he's been ruthless and mean to Democrats for a decade, if not more, 2 decades. And now some of them are like, now's my chance to stab the king. So they're trying to stab him now. And the thing is, he's got tons of bodyguards. This isn't him out by himself. He's still got bodyguards right now. So I'm not sure if he's going down yet. He's still got bodyguards. He'll fight to the end. He'll draw a knife himself and stab you right back. So if this is a knife fight, Cuomo will pull a knife out and stab right back. So that's an issue. I think you're right. I don't think he'll go away quietly. However, I do think if he actually thinks that he's going to lose, I think he resigns. I don't think he takes the L. I don't think he does. I don't think he takes the loss. If he actually thinks he's going to lose, I think he quits. If he actually thinks he's going to be impeached, I think he resigns. I don't think those things are true right now yet. But if that happens, I think he will absolutely, end it. So, yeah. Cuomo, I think, knows where all the bodies are buried and people are afraid of him. Yeah. Yes. Correct. Yes. Absolutely. 100%. Let me grab a couple more of these if I can. Every recent president but Trump has had to fight foreign wars. What do you think Biden will do when he's starting new wars? He's already restarting Syria, so I think he's already shown what he's talking about. I think he has. He really is. Yeah, he has no problem starting them. No problem at all, except with Saudi Arabia. He does love Saudi Arabia. Yes. Kenneth, all-out socialist is a Democrat, somewhat socialist Republican. That's how it works in New York. Well, New York City. I'm not sure that works. I don't know, but in New York City for sure. Larry, I think that's how it works everywhere in America right now. Okay. All right. People just don't realize it yet. Libertarians are the only non-authoritarians of the bunch. That's true. No, you got me. Yes. Kenneth, you're right. Yes. We are the only non-authoritarians. Yes. Unless you ask the libertarians. Yeah, it's true. And that's the piece that I say constantly, and I want people to really understand this. One of the reasons why I go out of my way to stay in this party, when I'm libertarian, so it's the right party for me, but why do I say so much in it? And why do I do so much for the movement? Because I really believe this is the only way that we heal our country. I don't see another way of healing the country without, literally fighting and then having to end and have a peace. I don't want that. I think our movement is the only movement that says, leave people alone. Be liberal. Great. Be conservative. Awesome. Just stop pushing your views on others. Just you be you, right? If you think the world should be more liberal, good on you, man. Good on you. I'm happy for you. Awesome. If these be most conservative, good on you, man. Awesome. Do that. No worries. The issue is change other people's minds based upon your example, your community, your works. Change people because of that. People look at you and go, wow, that liberal guy is awesome. I should be more liberal. Awesome. Or the reverse, right? That guy's conservative. He's awesome. I should do it. And that actually happened to me. I actually became more conservative as a youngster when I was 17, 18, 19, 20. When I joined the Marine Corps, most of my leadership was conservative. Many of them were Vietnam veterans. This is back in the 80s when I joined. Many of them were conservative. They would consider themselves either conservatives or Republicans. So my first commander-in-chief was Ronald Reagan. So I think, I was influenced by them to be more conservative because of that. I was, but it wasn't because they forced me or told me I had to, register Republican or something. I didn't register at all for either party. But I think you should change people because of who you are. I hope I'm doing it to people. I hope people are seeing who I am and going, you know what? Maybe libertarianism is where I am. I hope it's happening. I'm trying to practice what I preach. And if you want to be more conservative, or more liberal, you can as a libertarian. You can. There are tons of conservative libertarians and tons of liberal libertarians. They exist. They absolutely exist. But they just don't believe government should force their view upon others. They think you should do what they think is right because they think it's right, not because government forces you. And I'm totally okay with that. And I hope everyone gets people to join whatever they want to join. I love that. So Larry, Dave Smith was on Tim Pool's podcast of the week and gave a shout out to you for calling out King Charles and Cuomo. We need to get you on more publicity to get more people to hear your ideas, bridge leasing, eliminating grades 11 through 12, and substituting with professional studies programs for young people. Yep. People need to see the practical libertarianism instead of the naked guy and all the nutty libertarian stuff that turns people off. I agree. If you know Tim Pool, tell him to put me on. Tell him to put me on. And I'm happily to go on and talk to him. Absolutely, 100%. I'm in. Yes. So I want to see if I grab a couple more of these. I don't understand why libertarians, the people who have solutions, cannot solve the problems of their election system. Yeah, I mean, we're humans, Shelley. And we mess up. Yeah, we're still humans. We're libertarians, but we're not libertarian robots. Libertarian humans with screwy stuff. Yes, absolutely. So I guess that's why we're just humans. Yeah. I don't think any LP POTUS candidate this time had raised 100K. 2 of them had. 3 if you don't, not on hand, right? Not on hand. 1 was on hand, and that was Justin Amash, but he dropped out. Judge Jim Gray and Adam Kokesh both raised over $100,000. Kokesh didn't have it on hand. He had raised it in the past and had spent it. So, but he has raised over 6 figures. Kokesh has. And Judge Jim Gray. And I was on the Judge Jim Gray team because I knew that he had already raised the cash and could keep going it. He already had it on hand and had raised it as a VP nominee. And also as a Senate. I think he ran as a Senate. So he'd already raised 100K. He had done that already. Kokesh had it. I don't think Kokesh had it on hand, but he had raised 100K also. And of course, Amash had 7 figures on hand. So those were the 3 people who had actually done that last year. But Amash dropped out, and both Kokesh and Judge Jim Gray lost the nomination. But those are the only 3 who fit that threshold. And when it came to a press reel, I think those 3 are the only ones who are press reel. Kokesh has been in the press often. Judge Jim Gray also often. And obviously Amash. They also had press reels. Those were the 3 who had press reels. So they had press, and they had teams, and they had 100,000. Amash dropped out. The 2 lost. So those, in my personal opinion, those are the 3 people who were qualified who could have been elected. Those are my 3, following my criteria. So I hope that answers your question. No one else, you're right, had fit those qualifications. No one else had. So let's see if I can grab this here. I do understand that, but I think Larry and yourself, you're talking to someone else. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I got the wrong one. I appreciate that. So CNN running a smear campaign on Cuomo now. And that's the thing I think is funny. Yes, that's funny now. The left is now attacking Cuomo. At what point does this become the end of him? I don't know, but not yet. Cuomo's tough. He's not done yet. He might be finished. I hope he's finished, but he's not finished. And I want to be clear. I said something earlier today, my noon show, and I want to make sure it's clear. As much as I want Cuomo to go, and I want Cuomo to go. I have been clear on this. Very few people have spent more time, money, and energy trying to get rid of Cuomo than I have. Very few have. But I have. Still, we need to make sure he gets due process. Due process matters even for a terrible person like him. He does and should get due process. I don't want to just cancel him and make him resign because someone said something. It's not about believe women. It's about respect women. Women are humans like everybody else, and humans lie too, and so do some women. I'm not saying they're lying at all. I'm not. I'm saying respect them and say, look, if they accused him, you do a real investigation. You give him a chance to talk and say what he thinks is correct and what actually happened. He can say his piece, do the investigation, and then you go through the legal process. Is there impeachment? Is there a censure? You go through everything. Due process matters even for people like him. And I clearly do not like the man and want him to be removed. And even him, I will say it. And for some of you, remember, when Trump last year, after the election, was going through all the processes and doing all the lawsuits, I was going, yes, let him do it. That's due process, right? And I didn't believe that the election was affected enough I didn't believe that the election results were affected enough for him to have won. I didn't believe that. And I still said, no, that's due process. Go through it. When it was Trump, I said, let him go through due process. Exactly. It's his right. Do it. Yes, I support it 100%. I still want an investigation. Due process. Yes. And Cuomo, due process. Yes. Everybody should get it. Whether I like them or don't like them or hate them or whatever, doesn't matter. Because if we can give Trump due process, if we can give Cuomo due process, we can give everybody due process. That's what I want. Everybody should get due process. Everybody. So as much as I want him gone, due process. Even for him. Even for him. So I know some of you are like, no, get rid of him. I was that way the entire time, and I'm still that way. Everybody gets due process. Because you know what? One day it might be me. One day it might be you. You're going to want your due process, and me too. So everybody gets it. Done. So anyway, Thomas says, but Larry, my purity test, I want a real Libertarians nominee. You can have that too. I'm not saying you should pick somebody solely because of those three criteria. I'm saying that should be the minimal. If they have that, then see which is the best libertarian. Right? I'm not against having a real, whatever that is, libertarian at all. I just think you want to have a criteria to move forward. You have that, you're set. Yes. So, Larry, you're going back on Kibbe anytime soon. I was just on his show last year. Kibbe may be your segue to get more mainstream publicity. Maj always is on Kibbe and gets to be in the Blaze constantly, and even NRA TV. We need to get you on that same exposure. Yeah, I'm happy to go on those shows. I've been on Glenn Beck twice when I was running. I have to have another reason to be on there, right? And if I announce in the summer, then I'll be running and I'll get on those shows again because I'll be running again. Right now, I don't have a major reason. I don't want to take away. I'm not trying to take away the spotlight for people who are running, who might need the spotlight more than me right now. When I run, that's my time. If I run, it's my time, and then it'll be my time. Then I want a spotlight. But until then, I can give others a spotlight. I'll have them on my show. I'll give them whatever spotlight I can possibly give them. I don't have a problem sharing the spotlight. When it's my time, it's my time. When it's theirs, it's theirs. So I appreciate that. And if you have a connection, they'll get me on, please. I'm happy to do that. 100%. Yes. So I hope that works. So, all right. Let's see. Brick and mortar schools are the horse and buggy of the education system. Very good, David. I may steal that. And I probably will give you no credit because I'll forget where I got it if I do it. But you'll know when I say it, I mean you. That's good. I may steal that one. That's good. Brick and mortar schools are the horse and buggy of education. Yeah. All right. I like that. Yes. I'm good at that. Yeah. Our schools have saved a lot of money by homeschooling. Think we'll ever see that money put to good use? No. That was my whole plan, Shelley. If you remember, I was talking about that in my plan for each kid, the money stays with the kid, right? The state gives the money directly to each school, depending on how many kids they have in the school. If you choose to homeschool your kid, you get a credit that would have gone to school. not the same amount, right? Say, for example, you say the number is, for the sake of argument, the number is, say, each kid, $18,000 per kid. I made the number up. It's in that area, whatever that number is going to be. I think we spend, what, 23, 24? I could probably drop easily $6,000 off of that. So 18 for the sake of argument. So then maybe now the homeschooler gets 6. Why only 6? Because I would still allow a homeschooled family to still use the facilities within their district. So you could homeschool your kid, but they could still say, use the library in the school. Or you could homeschool the kid, but they could still be part of the chess club or play on a football team. Or they could go on a school trip. They could still do all the things that the local schools do because you're still paying taxes for the school. So why wouldn't your kids still be able to use the facilities, even though they wouldn't be actually doing it? So anything after school, the kid could still use. So they still be able to use it if they wanted to. But even if it was just $6,000, how much would private schools cost in New York State? $6,000. They would cost whatever the government money is. So you would increase a bunch of homeschooling and or private schools, and you would also increase the idea that homeschoolers could create their own private schools very quickly. So I think all of that would work. My goal was to encourage people to have, homeschooling. If you have a large facility for a bunch of kids, and all of a sudden now you have less kids in it, well, everybody wins. The homeschooler wins. Good for them. They're in a position to train their kid and teach their kid. But now there's less kids in the school. So now you have smaller class sizes. It's win everywhere. And again, if kids want to still be in a chess team or play football or whatever is the thing they want to do for the school, be in a soccer team or go on a class trip, now you have kids integrating from the homeschool system and the private school system and the public school system together. It's voluntary integration. I love that. That's amazing. Voluntary integration. People who want to integrate from different groups and areas get together because they all go to the same school, right? For whatever extracurricular thing there is. Win, win, win. Nothing but win. Nothing but win. So, yes. All right. So if I can grab a couple more of these guys. You guys give me a bunch. I really appreciate that. Yes. I taught for a year and fell apart. Wow. Yeah. I know so many people who talk about that. How difficult it was to teach. Many, many people talk about that. And most of the time it's burnout. And it's usually burnout because of rules and regulations from administrators. I hear that all the time. Yes. So, all right. So if I can grab this real fast here. I enjoy Larry's radio program, A Free Solution. I listen via Facebook. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. So much. I ask everyone to have you on the show. Yes, please do that. I love that. Absolutely. Yes. Larry, I'm curious what you think about ranked choice voting. I literally did a press release on that 2 weeks ago. If you look for ranked choice voting and Larry Sharpe and Google, the press release will come up and tells you exactly what I think about it and why we should use it. Yes, big fan of ranked choice voting. Absolutely. So let me keep going on this one. See if I can keep going. Donald Trump is still Donald Trump even without being president. It's true. Yes, absolutely. It is true. I completely agree. He still is powerful. Didn't Maj Toure run as a Libertarian for Philadelphia City Council? Yes. And he was not treated well by our party at all. And afterwards, I literally went to Philly to break bread with him, have lunch with him, and then convince him to stay. So, yes, literally, I was like, I'm going to go see him because he was not treated well by us at all. He wasn't. So I literally drove to Philly and had lunch with him. And I was like, we got to talk. I want you to stay. So I've spent a lot of time trying to get him to not walk away and to stay here to the best of my ability. I want him to stay whenever possible. Now I wonder if dropping your name will get me a free single malt or two. You can try, Brian. I hope so. You could try. This is, to be funny, this isn't the first time it's happened. When I travel the state, those of you who know this, when I travel the state, I cross the state every single year. I will, every year since 2017, I have visited every single county in New York State at least once. I do a stop. And every stop I do, it's always in a local business. It's a local diner, bar, gun shop. I've done local vape shops, right? I do some local place every time. And whenever I eat, I go out of my way to eat in a local diner or a local restaurant whenever I possibly can. I go out of my way to do it. If I used to do a little diner tour, I take pictures of the diner, put them up on my show, on social media, and pump them up. So all the time. So there's a lot of places in New York State that, Larry Sharpe ate here. There's a lot of them. So if you're going someplace, it can't hurt. Say, hey, you guys know Larry Sharpe? That guy ran for governor? Oh my God, that guy was here. It does happen often. So try it, Brian. Why not? Can't hurt. It can't hurt. So I appreciate that. It's good. Maybe people start getting some free beers off me. I like it. Good. So due process, of course. I wish it was, of course, Shelly. We're in cancel culture where no questions asked, fired, no question asked. No questions asked is terrible, horrible. You should ask questions. I don't want it to happen again. I want to fix things. I don't want to focus on punishing the offender. I want to have no offenses. I don't want there to be an offender to punish. So how about instead of having, to get people offended, people be offenders, I'm sorry. We create an environment where people don't want to offend. A whole lot easier. So I still don't think Cuomo will go. I'm with you, Steve. I not yet. I'm not there yet. I'm closer because, of what Emmanuel was talking about. I'm closer because CNN is beating him up, but I'm not there yet, right? So, but if he does, the last 3 Democrat governors will be gone in disgrace, along with Spitzer and Patterson. Is Patterson gone in disgrace? Maybe. A little bit, but it wasn't that bad. Didn't he have like a marriage scandal? Is that what Patterson had? A marriage scandal or something like that? I've actually forgotten. I think he had a marriage scandal. I think so. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. But I remember Spitzer, obviously. That was a bad one. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm all for the LP to nominate our candidates now. Tops in my book will be Amash, Cohen, Sharpe, or Kokesh, and then go for moderate case if you commit to the LP party. He didn't name me first on my show, Connie. You're supposed to be nice. You put me up front. Be polite. Give me third. I'm kidding. I'm happy that you would even think of me, Connie, and I'm glad you keep watching the show. I'm totally teasing you. I'm happy. Thank you. Yes. I'm fine. Look, all I'm saying is whoever is going to be that nominee, they got to be ready to do it full time. They got to be able to raise 6 figures. They got to build a team. Got to have press. They can't do those things. What are we doing? Right? What are we doing? So I know Kokesh can do it. I know I can do it. I know Amash can do it. I don't know if Spike. Nothing against Spike. I'm just saying I don't know if he can. I don't. Maybe he can, but he was on the Jorgensen campaign, so whatever he did got absorbed by Jorgensen. So I don't know how well he can do it. But if he could, totally fine. Totally fine. If he can do it, as long as he can do it by then, life is good. No worries. So yes. Florida cost per student is only about $8K. $8K. Joe. $8K. Kidding me? New York State, $22K. Take that. New York City is like 26, 27, something like that. 28 maybe even. Yeah. Take that. $8K. High school. It's not, those are rookie numbers. Come on now. What are you doing, Joe? Oh, yeah, Florida. Florida, who has more people than us. No income tax, and half the budget. Yeah, you make us look bad, Joe. Make us look bad. It's bad. Yes, it's definitely bad. No questions asked is the epitome of ignorance. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Gergie says, Larry, I'm a huge fan of yours. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll send some bucks your way as soon as I can. Thank you, brother. I hope you, if you can, you can. Please go ahead. I got to ask, as I always do, guys, as I always do, if you can support me, please head over to patreon.com/Sharpe if you like what I'm doing. I'm doing this every single day this week. You know I am. I did it all every day last week. I'm sometimes going live 2 or 3 times a day, trying to bring you some good information, some good guests, some good information, and chatting back and forth with you. I'm going to show you who I am so that you know the kind of person you're talking to. And if you can, if you got some cash, throw me $10 on Patreon. If you can't, no worries. There's 2 things you can do without having to spend any money if you don't have it. Like, comment, and share. That matters. I can't tell you how much that matters. So much it matters. Every little like, every little comment, every little button you click is another thing that where the algorithm hits and people are happy. Please do that. It does matter. Comments matter. All back and forth matters. It all matters. But I'm going to go one step further. If you can like my social media on multiple platforms, this also matters. A lot of you watch me on Larry Sharpe. Go over to the Sharpe Way. There's a Sharpe Way Facebook page, a Sharpe Way Twitter, and a Sharpe Way YouTube. Go and like those. Follow those. Why? Because you never know when Facebook decides that Larry Sharpe is too radical to be on this and we're going to end Larry Sharpe. And what happens when I get canceled? What happens when Facebook cancels me? Where are we going to go then? I'm going to need you on all the Sharpe Way social media. So please head on over. It's free. Like all the Sharpe Way stuff. Like it on Twitter, Instagram. If you're on any of those things, like the Sharpe Way stuff. It does matter. That's free, and it helps me tremendously. The more people who like, the more chance I get to get more people out there, the more valid I become because he's got more likes and more subscriptions. So now all of a sudden people think I'm more valuable. So heading over to the YouTube page, the Sharpe Way YouTube. Go like it, subscribe. If you don't want the bell, don't click the bell. Please click the bell. But if you don't want to click the bell, it's fine. Please click the bell. You don't have to. Subscribe no matter what. The numbers matter. So do those things, and it's good. And of course, what I always ask you all the time is you can head over to my sponsor, theadvocates.org. Head over to theadvocates.org and take one of the tests or surveys over there and share it with others. Share it with others. There's a link right now for the pandemic survey. There's a link right now for the pandemic survey. It's in the description. Click on that link right now, the pandemic survey. Link on that. Take that survey and share it. Click that link and share it. And my sponsors love me. It makes them happy. So please do that. It'd be awesome. You can support me without having to spend money. It's free. Takes a little bit of time, but totally worth it. I appreciate that. Yes. So Eric says, I'd say lawsuit if they try to enforce something unconstitutional, but the SAFE Act is still there. Yeah. We try to do lawsuits. We do. And we often win, but we don't always. We don't often. We don't always. So we try though. Absolutely. So Keith says, I'll keep sending money. I have since 2017. Yes, Keith. Thank you so much for your support. It matters tremendously. When I cross the state, I use that cash to cross the state. I use it to pay my team here. You see my team popping up stuff. That's my team doing work. So yes, absolutely. Yes, 100%. So yeah. So I can keep doing this. I got live notifications on Twitter and Facebook. I love that. Yes. Iowa spends $13K. That's more than I thought. Still, nothing better than New York. We got you all beat. But yes, absolutely. So, dear Larry, you're a bit too radical for big tech, so I'll let you go. Sorry. It's how things go. Love, Zuck. Let's hope I never get that. Let's hope I never get that note. Yes. Just like you on Instagram. Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that. Yes, please. I do appreciate all the liking and all the little things. I try to go on everything. Yes. Spitzer visit a brothel. No. They got Spitzer on something specific, Paula. Spitzer brought a sex worker to New York. So that was considered crossing the state trafficking. That's where they got Spitzer. If he would have just visited a brothel, they wouldn't have cared. Or they wouldn't have cared. They would have cared. But if it was legal, it would have been fine. But no, it literally was... he brought someone. I mean, he really wanted this girl a lot. He really wanted this woman a lot. So he literally shipped her in. That's how much he wanted her. Good for her, I guess. Good for her. I hope she made a good amount of money for it. I hope it was worth it for her. I hope it was. But no, that's where he got hammered. Yeah. Yeah, a $92 billion budget for Florida last year. We had 190. 190. Double. When it comes to being wasteful, New York, it's tough to beat us. Joe, you could try, but I mean, we're really good at being wasteful. Like, we're really good at that. We're great at crony capitalism. We're great at being bloated. We're great at corruption. We're great at, wasting. We are amazing at those things. I mean, you can try to beat us, but you got to work a whole lot harder is what I'm saying. You got to work a whole lot harder to beat us. That's not something you do just like, overnight. You're working years to get to New York level. It's really hard. So... Larry Sharpe, Patterson's issue was domestic violence. Yes, that's right. I thought it was something marriage. Marriage related. Right. That's what it was. Domestic violence. Yes. And that's why he didn't run again. It's correct. Yes. Thank you for that, Steve. I'd forgotten. I knew it was something like that. Yeah. Marriage, something like that. I remember that. Yes. I don't want to punish the offender. I want to create an environment where people don't want to offend. Yeah. Joe, steal that one. It's fine. I like that one. You can steal it. Go ahead. I really don't mind at all. Yes. So, all right, guys, I want to say thank you so much for this evening. I know it was a lot. I know but I appreciate all of the amazing comments, questions you gave. I hope it was interesting and good for you. I have a very cool guest tomorrow night. And then Wednesday is another cool show. I'm on tomorrow afternoon too. So I will be on a bit. Thank you so much for all the time and all your support. I appreciate it. I will see you all tomorrow.